The first thing Daniel Mensah noticed was her hands. They were shaking as she held out a small plastic cup to people passing by on the street. Old hands, wrinkled, covered in dirt, the kind of hands that had worked too hard for too long and had nothing left to show for it. He almost looked away. He had seen 1,000 beggars in Lagos, maybe more. You could not stop for all of them. You could not save everyone. That was what he always told himself. But something about this old woman would not let him go. Daniel Mensah was a name that made people stop and stare. At 42 years old, he owned 3 hotels, 2 shopping malls, and a chain of restaurants that stretched across 5 cities. His face was on magazine covers. His cars cost more than most people would earn in 10 lifetimes. When he walked into a room, everyone wanted to shake his hand, take a picture, or ask him for advice on how to become successful. But he did not get there by being soft. He got there by being smart, by being tough, by making hard choices that other people were too weak to make. That was what he told himself every single day. On this particular morning, he sat in the back of his black SUV as his driver James took him through the busy streets of Lagos. He was on his way to meet foreign investors, men who wanted to give him $50 million to expand his business empire. This was the kind of deal that would push him from millionaire to billionaire status. He checked his gold watch. They were running late. Daniel let out a breath and went back to reading his emails. There were hundreds of them. People asking for money, people asking for jobs, people asking for favors. He deleted most of them without reading past the first line. Then the car stopped completely. Daniel pressed his lips together. He hated waiting. Time was money, and he was losing both sitting in traffic like a common person. He looked out the window to see what was causing the delay. Cars were packed together like sardines. Drivers were honking. Street sellers were moving between vehicles trying to sell water, phone chargers, and roasted corn. And that was when he saw her. The old woman sat on the ground near a closed shop with her back against the wall. She wore a faded wrapper that might have been blue once, but was now just a dull gray. Her hair was completely white and thin, barely covering her head. Her feet were bare and swollen, covered in cuts and sores from walking on hot pavement. She held out her cup to people walking past, but no one stopped. No one even looked at her. She was invisible, just another beggar in a city full of them. Daniel watched her for a moment, then turned away. He had work to do. He pulled out his laptop and started reviewing the presentation for his meeting. But his eyes kept going back to the window. There was something about the way she sat, the way she held herself even in all that poverty, something familiar that he could not quite place. A man in a dirty shirt walked up to her and dropped a few coins in her cup. She looked up and smiled. A real smile. The kind that came from deep inside, even when there was nothing to smile about. That smile hit him like a punch to the chest. He knew that smile. His heart started beating faster. His hands felt cold. It could not be. It was impossible. His mother was back in the village living in the house he had built for her. Or at least that was what he thought. That was what he had been telling himself for the past 15 years. The traffic started moving, but Daniel raised his hand. James stopped the car as horns sounded behind them, but Daniel did not care. He opened the door and stepped out onto the street. His legs felt weak as he walked toward the old woman. Each step felt like it took forever. His mind raced, trying to convince him he was wrong, that it was just someone who looked like her, that his eyes were playing tricks on him. But the closer he got, the more he knew the truth. She did not see him coming. She was looking down at the few coins in her cup, counting them with those shaking hands. Daniel stopped a few feet away. His mouth was dry. His expensive suit felt too tight. The old woman looked up, and time stopped. Those eyes, the same eyes that watched him play as a child, the same eyes that cried when he got his first job in the city, the same eyes he had walked away from 15 years ago, promising to come back soon. The cup fell from her hands, and coins rolled across the dirty ground. He fell to his knees in front of her, not caring that his expensive clothes touched the filthy ground, not caring that people were staring, not caring about anything except the fact that his mother, his 80-year-old mother, was begging on the streets of Lagos. Tears rolled down Daniel's face. He had not cried in 20 years. He had trained himself not to cry because crying was weakness, and weak men did not become billionaires. But kneeling on a dirty Lagos street in front of his beggar mother, he could not stop the tears. Daniel remained on his knees, trying to understand what he was seeing. His mother touched his face again and again, as if she needed to be sure he was real. A crowd started forming around them. Phones came out. Pictures and videos were taken. Headlines were already writing themselves, but Daniel did not care. His mother finally spoke about the house, about how it was gone, about how it had been taken from her. The truth came slowly and painfully. It was his wife, Grace. The name hit him hard. His wife, the woman who smiled at charity events, posed for pictures with poor children, and spoke about values and family. The money had stopped, 3 years without a single payment, while Daniel believed he had been sending it every month. Confusion took over as he checked his banking records. Every transfer was there. 500,000 naira sent every month to an account under his mother's name. But his mother had never owned an account. The world began to spin as the truth started to form. James helped his mother stand, and as she moved, a photograph fell from her lap. Daniel picked it up, his hands shaking. It was him at 17 standing in front of their old village house on the day he left for Lagos. The picture was faded, torn, folded and unfolded until it was almost falling apart. She had kept it all these years, showing it to people, telling them her son was in Lagos building his life, and that one day he would return. The pain was deep and crushing, spreading through his chest and into his entire body. She had been on the streets for 2 years, maybe more. 2 years of begging while Daniel lived in luxury, eating expensive food, buying cars, traveling, and celebrating success. James helped her into the car and drove away while Daniel stood there shaking, his heart racing. He made a call to his lawyer and demanded answers. Every account, every transaction, every naira. Then he went home. As the car moved through Lagos traffic, his thoughts turned heavy. Memories of trust, of words he never questioned, of lies he never checked. He had been too busy, too focused on money, too distracted by success. His mother had sacrificed everything for him, sold land, worked any job she could find, gone hungry so he could eat. And now she had been left on the streets while he lived like a king. His mansion came into view, high gates, guards, fountains, gardens, luxury everywhere. Inside the house, Grace waited. The truth came out quickly, coldly, without shame. The money had been taken, redirected, spent. Her words were sharp, her laughter cruel, her reason simple. She believed his mother did not deserve it. Daniel stood there as the weight of everything finally settled. Daniel's phone rang at exactly the moment he thought his world couldn't get any worse. It was Mike, his lawyer, and what he was about to hear would change everything he thought he knew about betrayal. "Not now, Mike," Daniel said, his eyes still locked on Grace. "Sir, you need to hear this, right now." Mike's voice was urgent in a way Daniel had never heard before. He put the phone on speaker. "Talk." "Sir, I checked the accounts like you asked. Your wife didn't just take your mother's money. She's been moving money from your business accounts too. Over 50 million naira in the past 2 years. Grace's face went white. "What?" Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper. "Say that again." 50 million naira, sir, maybe more. And there's something else. The house you built for your mother, your wife sold it 3 years ago for 25 million. That money is also gone. Daniel felt his knees go weak and sat down heavily on the couch, trying to process what he was hearing. "Mike, how is this possible? I check my accounts every month. I would have seen." "She had help, sir, someone on the inside. Someone who knows how to move money without raising flags." "Who?" There was a pause on the other end, a long pause that made Daniel's heart beat faster. "Sir, according to the bank records, it's your business partner, Mr. Emmanuel." The room started spinning. Emmanuel, his best friend since college, the man who stood beside him at his wedding, the man he trusted with half his business empire. Daniel looked at Grace. She was backing away slowly, her hand reaching for her purse. "You and Emmanuel?" Daniel asked, his voice dead. Grace stopped moving. For a second, she looked like she might deny it. Then her face changed. The mask came off completely. The sweet, loving wife disappeared, and someone else stood in her place, someone cold and calculated. "You're not as smart as you think you are, Daniel," she said quietly. "You were so easy, so stupid, walking around like you're some king, when really you're just a village boy who got lucky." "How long?" Daniel asked. "How long have you and Emmanuel been planning this?" She smiled, actually smiled. "From the beginning, from the very first day I met you." Those words hit harder than anything else she had said. From the beginning, their entire marriage had been a lie. "Emmanuel found me," she continued, her voice almost proud now. "He told me about you, about how you had money but no sense, how you trusted everyone, how you never checked anything because you were too busy trying to be important. He said it would be easy to get close to you, marry you, and take everything. And my mother? Daniel's voice cracked. What did she ever do to you? Grace laughed, a cold, ugly sound. Your mother, she was in the way. When you first told me about her, about how you sent her money every month, I told Emmanuel. He said we should take it. I said no at first. It seemed too risky, but then I met her. You met her. Once, 2 years after we got married. You sent me to the village to check on her, remember? And when I got there, you know what that old woman did. Grace's face twisted with anger. She looked at me with those judging eyes. She told me I wasn't good enough for you, that she could see through me, that I didn't love you. She was right, Daniel whispered. She was a problem, Grace shouted. So I fixed it. I took her land papers. You left them with me, remember, for safekeeping? I sold the house. I opened accounts in her name. And when she had nowhere to go, when she came to Lagos looking for you, I told the security guards to turn her away. I told them she was a crazy woman pretending to be your mother. Daniel's hands were shaking so hard he had to squeeze them into fists. His mother had come looking for him. She had come to his house, and his own wife had turned her away. Where is Emmanuel now? He asked Mike, who was still on the phone, listening to everything. Sir, I'm looking at his flight records right now. He left the country this morning, first flight to Dubai. Of course he did. Emmanuel knew the trap was closing. He had probably been watching Daniel's bank account, waiting for the lawyer's call. The moment Mike started digging, he ran. Mike, freeze every account with his name on it, every single one, and call the police. I want him arrested the second he lands anywhere. Already on it, sir. Daniel ended the call and looked at Grace. She was still standing there, her purse in her hand, car keys visible inside. You're not going anywhere, he said quietly. You can't stop me. I'm your wife. Half of everything you own is legally mine. You stole from me. You threw my mother into the streets. You think any court will let you keep a single naira after what you've done. Grace's smile faded a little. You have no proof. I have Mike's records. I have bank statements. I have everything. That could take months to sort out in court, and by then I'll be long gone. She started walking toward the door. Daniel stood up and blocked her path. I said you're not going anywhere. Move, Daniel. No. They stood there facing each other. Daniel could see the calculations running through her head. She was trying to figure out if she could get past him, if she could make it to her car, if she could disappear before the police arrived. Then she did something Daniel didn't expect. She started crying. Not real tears, fake ones, the kind she had probably practiced in the mirror. Her whole face changed. Suddenly, she looked scared and small. Daniel, please, she said, her voice shaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Emmanuel forced me to do it. He threatened me. He said if I didn't help him, he would hurt you. I was trying to protect you. It was a good performance, really good. If Daniel hadn't just heard her confess everything, he might have even believed her. Save it, he said. I'm not that stupid village boy anymore. The fake tears stopped immediately. Her face went hard again. Fine, she said. Then you should know something else, something that will really break your heart. What else could you possibly? Your mother didn't end up on the streets by accident, Grace interrupted. I didn't just turn her away from the house. I made sure she ended up exactly where you found her today. Daniel's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? That street, that specific spot where she was begging. I put her there. I paid people to make sure she stayed in that area. Because I knew Daniel. I knew that one day you would drive past there on your way to one of your big important meetings. I knew you would see her, and I knew it would destroy you. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Why would you do that? Grace's smile came back, wider this time, crueler. Because Emmanuel and I made a bet. He said you would drive past your own mother and not even recognize her, that you'd forgotten her so completely you wouldn't even see her. But I knew better. I knew that deep down you still had a little bit of that village boy inside you. And I wanted to be there when it finally came out. I wanted to see the great Daniel Mensah fall apart. She pulled out her phone and showed him the screen. There was a video playing, a video of him just an hour ago, on his knees in the street, crying in front of his mother. I had someone recording the whole thing, she said. It's already online, millions of views. Everyone is watching the mighty Daniel Mensah cry like a baby. Your reputation destroyed, your image gone. And the best part, people think you're the villain. They think you abandoned your mother. They don't know about me at all. Daniel couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't think. Grace walked past him toward the door. This time he didn't stop her. "Goodbye, Daniel," she said. "Enjoy being poor again, because by the time I'm done you won't have a business left, Emmanuel, and I made sure of that." She opened the door and walked out. Daniel stood there in his massive living room surrounded by all his expensive things and realized something terrible. Grace was right about one thing. His reputation was destroyed. The video was everywhere. His phone was already buzzing with calls from investors, partners, news reporters. Everyone wanted to know the truth. Everyone wanted answers. But there was something Grace didn't know, something she had forgotten in all her planning and scheming. Daniel hadn't become a billionaire by being stupid. He had become a billionaire by being patient, by planning, by waiting for exactly the right moment to strike. And Grace had just given him all the ammunition he needed. He picked up his phone and made a call. "Hello." The voice on the other end was female, professional. "Mrs. Adeyemi, this is Daniel Mensah. I need your help." Mrs. Adeyemi was the best lawyer in Lagos, maybe the best in all of Nigeria. She had never lost a case, not once. "Mr. Mensah, I saw the video. I'm very sorry about your mother. How can I help?" "I need you to destroy someone," Daniel said simply. "And I need you to do it legally, completely, so that when it's over there's nothing left." There was a pause. Then Mrs. Adeyemi spoke again, and Daniel could hear the smile in her voice. "Tell me everything." Daniel walked into his house 3 hours later and found his mother sitting in the kitchen. She wasn't eating, she wasn't drinking, she was just sitting there staring at her hands like she couldn't believe they were clean. James had given her food, but the plate sat untouched on the table. He had brought her water, but the glass was still full. She looked lost, like someone who had been living in darkness for so long that the light hurt her eyes. "Mama," Daniel said softly, pulling out a chair and sitting beside her. She looked up at him, and he saw something in her eyes that made his chest hurt. Not anger, not blame, just sadness, deep, bone-tired sadness. "This house is so big," she said quietly. "So beautiful. You did well for yourself, my son." "Mama, I'm so sorry. I should have come to check on you myself. I should have." She raised her hand to stop him. "No, Daniel. You were busy building your life. That's what I wanted for you. That's why I sold my land. That's why I worked so hard, so you could have all of this. But you ended up on the streets because of me, because I was too blind to see what was happening." His mother shook her head slowly. "You didn't put me there. That woman did, your wife." The word wife came out like poison from her mouth. "She's not my wife anymore," Daniel said. "I'm going to make sure of that." "Where is she now?" "Gone. She ran away. But she won't get far. I have people looking for her." His mother was quiet for a moment. Then she asked the question Daniel had been dreading. "Did you love her?" He wanted to say no. He wanted to say it was all business, all fake, all part of the plan, but that would be a lie. "I thought I did," he admitted. "When I first met her, she seemed perfect, beautiful, smart, educated, everything I thought I wanted in a wife. She made me feel important, like I had finally made it. And now I realize I was chasing the wrong things. I wanted to prove to everyone that I was successful, that the village boy had become somebody. But in doing that, I forgot the people who actually mattered." His mother reached out and took his hand. Her skin was rough and dry, nothing like Grace's soft, perfumed hands. But the touch was real. It was home. "Tell me something, Daniel," she said. "In all these years, did you ever think about me? Really think about me?" The question hit him like a knife. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to tell her that he thought about her every day. But his mother had always been able to see through his lies. "Not enough," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought about you sometimes, on your birthday, on Christmas. But then I would send money and tell myself that was enough, that I was doing my duty as a son. I never asked myself if you were okay, if you were happy, if you needed anything besides money." Tears started falling down his mother's face, but she didn't make a sound. She just let them fall. "I waited for you," she said. "Every day for 2 years I sat on that street corner, and I waited. People asked me why I didn't move to a different spot, why I didn't go to a shelter, but I stayed there because it was on your route to work. I had asked around. I knew where your office was, and I thought maybe one day you would drive past and see me." Daniel felt like someone was squeezing his heart. "Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not telling you this to hurt you," she continued. I'm telling you because you need to understand something. Money didn't put me on that street. Forget didn't either. Evil did. That woman is evil Daniel. Her and that man Emmanuel. At the mention of Emmanuel's name, Daniel's phone rang. It was Mrs. Adeyemi. Excuse me, Mama. I need to take this. He walked into the next room and answered. Mr. Mensah, I have news. Mrs. Adeyemi said. We found them. Where? Airport. They were trying to board a flight to South Africa using fake passports. The police arrested them both 20 minutes ago. Daniel let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Good. What happens now? Now we build the case. I've already filed for divorce on grounds of fraud and theft. I've also filed criminal charges for embezzlement, forgery, and elder abuse. With the evidence you gave me, they're looking at minimum 10 years in prison, maybe more. What about my money? Can we get it back? Most of it, yes. They didn't have time to move it all offshore. We've already frozen their accounts. But Mr. Mensah, I need to warn you about something. What? The video. It's everywhere now. And the story that's going around isn't good. People think you abandoned your mother deliberately. They're calling you heartless. Some of your business partners are already talking about pulling out of deals. Daniel closed his eyes. He had expected this, but hearing it still hurt. What do I do? Tell the truth, Mrs. Adeyemi said simply. Hold a press conference. Tell people exactly what happened. Show them the evidence. Let them see that you're the victim here, not the villain. When? Tomorrow. I'll arrange everything. But Daniel, you need to bring your mother. People need to see her. They need to hear from her own mouth what Grace did. Daniel looked back toward the kitchen where his mother was still sitting at the table. I'll ask her, he said. But I won't force her. She's been through enough. Understood? I'll call you in the morning with details. After the call ended, Daniel went back to the kitchen. His mother had finally started eating, small bites, slow, like her stomach had forgotten how to handle real food. Mama, I need to ask you something. She looked up at him. Tomorrow I have to talk to the press, to tell people what really happened. The lawyer thinks you should be there, to tell your side of the story, but only if you want to. I won't make you do anything you're not comfortable with. His mother put down her spoon and thought for a long moment. Will that woman be there, Grace? No, she's in jail. Good. She picked up her spoon again. Then I'll come. People should know the truth, not just for you, but for other mothers out there. Other old women who are suffering because of wicked children or wicked people. They should know they're not alone. Daniel felt pride swell in his chest. Even after everything she had been through, his mother was still thinking about others. Thank you, Mama. But Daniel, she said, looking him straight in the eye, after we do this press conference, after we tell the truth, I want you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll never forget again. Not where you came from. Not who loved you when you had nothing. Not what really matters in this life. Daniel knelt down beside her chair and took both her hands in his. I promise, Mama. I swear on everything I have. I will never forget again. She smiled then, a real smile, the first one he had seen since he found her on the street. Good, she said. Now go rest. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. The morning sun was too bright. Daniel stood in front of the mirror in his bedroom, adjusting his tie for the third time. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. In all his years of doing business, of standing in front of investors and CEOs and government officials, he had never been this nervous. Today was different. Today the whole country would be watching. He heard a soft knock on his door. Come in, he said. His mother entered and Daniel almost didn't recognize her. James had taken her shopping yesterday, and she was wearing a simple blue dress with white flowers on it. Her hair had been washed and styled. She wore no makeup, no jewelry, nothing fancy. But she looked dignified. She looked like a queen. How do I look? She asked, turning slowly. Beautiful, Mama. You look beautiful. She came closer and fixed his tie properly. Her hands were still rough, still scarred from her years on the street, but they were steady. Are you ready for this? Daniel asked. I've been ready for 2 years, she said. I'm tired of hiding, tired of being invisible. Today people will see me, really see me. They went downstairs together. Mrs. Adeyemi was waiting in the living room with her team, 3 lawyers, 2 assistants, and a PR consultant who looked too young to know what she was doing. Mr. Mensah, Mrs. Mensah, the lawyer said, standing up. Thank you for agreeing to this. I know it won't be easy. Nothing worth doing is ever easy, Daniel's mother said quietly. Mrs. Adeyemi smiled. I can see where your son gets his strength from. They went over the plan one more time. Daniel would speak first, explaining what happened. Then his mother would tell her story. After that, they would take questions from reporters. Mrs. Adeyemi had already prepared answers for the difficult questions they knew would come. The press conference was being held at one of Daniel's hotels. When they arrived, the parking lot was packed with news vans, cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions before they even got out of the car. Mr. Mensah, is it true you abandoned your mother? Daniel, why didn't you help her sooner? Is your wife really in jail? Security guards pushed through the crowd, creating a path. Daniel held his mother's arm as they walked. He could feel her trembling slightly, but her face remained calm. Inside, the conference room was packed, every seat taken, cameras lined up in the back, phones recording everything. Daniel recognized faces from major newspapers, TV stations, online blogs. They were all here for blood. They wanted a scandal. They wanted drama. Daniel and his mother sat at a table in the front, microphones pointed at them like weapons. The lights were so bright they hurt his eyes. Mrs. Adeyemi stood up first. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. My client, Mr. Daniel Mensah, has asked for this opportunity to address the recent video that has been circulating online. He will make a statement, and then his mother, Mrs. Rose Mensah, will speak. After that, we'll take a few questions. Please hold all questions until the end. She sat down, and Daniel stood up. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to walk to the microphone. The room went completely silent. My name is Daniel Mensah, he began, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. And 3 days ago, I found my mother begging on the streets of Lagos. He paused, letting the words sink in. Many of you have seen the video. Many of you have already decided that I'm a terrible son, that I abandoned my mother while living in luxury, and I understand why you think that, because for a moment when I saw that video myself, I thought the same thing. A few reporters shifted in their seats. This wasn't the defensive speech they were expecting. But the truth is more complicated than a 2-minute video can show. The truth is that I was lied to, stolen from, betrayed by the two people I trusted most in this world. He told them everything about Grace, about Emmanuel, about the fake accounts and the stolen money and the house that was sold without his knowledge. He showed them bank statements, transfer records, text messages between Grace and Emmanuel, planning the whole thing. The room erupted, reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing, but Mrs. Adeyemi raised her hand. Please let him finish. Daniel continued. I'm not here to make excuses. Yes, I was betrayed, but I also failed. I failed because I got so caught up in building my empire that I forgot to check on the one person who made that empire possible. I sent money every month and thought that was enough. I thought money could replace presence, replace love, replace actually showing up. His voice cracked on the last words. I was wrong, and my mother paid the price for my wrongness. He sat down, and his mother stood up. The room went silent again. People leaned forward in their seats waiting. She walked to the microphone slowly, her head held high. My name is Rose Mensah, she said, her voice quiet but clear, and I am Daniel's mother. She paused, looking out at all the faces staring at her. For 2 years I lived on the streets. I begged for food. I slept on cardboard. I was beaten by other beggars who said I was in their territory. I was sick many times, so sick I thought I would die. And through it all, I waited for my son. A few reporters were wiping their eyes now. People asked me, why didn't you go to his office? Why didn't you force your way in? And the answer is simple. I tried. Many times I tried. But that woman, his wife, she had told the security guards I was crazy, that I was a beggar pretending to be his mother to get money. So they turned me away every time. Daniel's hands were clenched into fists under the table. But I never stopped believing he would find me. I never stopped waiting, because I know my son. I raised him, and I knew that somewhere deep inside he was still the boy who used to share his food with street children, the boy who cried when he saw people suffering, the boy with a good heart. She looked directly at the cameras now. So to all of you watching, to all of you who have been calling my son names, judging him, I want you to know something. He is not perfect. He made mistakes, big mistakes. But he is not the villain in this story. The villain is greed. The villain is betrayal. The villain is a woman who saw an old mother as nothing more than an obstacle to money. The room was completely silent now. Even the cameras had stopped flashing. And to other mothers out there, she continued, her voice growing stronger. Mothers who are suffering because their children have forgotten them. I want you to know this. Keep waiting, keep believing, because real love, the love between a mother and child, that love never truly dies. It may sleep, it may hide, but it never dies. She sat down, and for a moment nobody moved, nobody spoke. Then slowly one reporter started clapping, then another, then the whole room erupted in applause. Mrs. Adeyemi stood up. "We'll take questions now." Hands shot up everywhere. She pointed to a woman in the front row. "Mrs. Mensah, do you forgive your son?" Daniel's mother didn't hesitate. "Yes, there is nothing to forgive. He did not put me on the streets. Evil people did." Another reporter, "Mr. Mensah, what will happen to your wife and Emmanuel?" "They're both in jail awaiting trial," Daniel said. "They'll face justice for what they did, not just to me, but to my mother." "What about your business? Are you stepping down?" "No. I built that business from nothing, and I'm not letting anyone destroy it. But I am making changes. From now on, part of my company's profits will go to helping elderly people who have nowhere to go. People like my mother, people who society has forgotten." More applause. The questions continued for another 30 minutes. Some were harsh, some were kind. But through it all, Daniel and his mother sat together telling the truth. When it was finally over, when the reporters had left and the cameras had been packed away, Daniel helped his mother back to the car. "You did well, Mama," he said. "So did you, my son." As they drove home, Daniel's phone started ringing. Investors calling to say they believed him, business partners apologizing for doubting him, even a few government officials offering support. But the call that mattered most came from an unknown number. "Hello," Daniel answered. "Mr. Mensah, my name is Sister Mary. I run a shelter for homeless women here in Lagos. I just watched your press conference." "Yes. I want you to know that your mother stayed with us for 3 months last year. She was very sick, and we took care of her. She talked about you every single day. She showed everyone your picture. And even when she had nothing, even when she was at her lowest, she never once said a bad word about you." Daniel felt tears coming to his eyes. "She said you were a good boy who had just lost his way. She said you would find your way back, and she was right." "Thank you," Daniel whispered. "Thank you for taking care of her." "No, Mr. Mensah. Thank you. What you're doing, creating that program for elderly people, that will change lives, that will save lives." After the call ended, Daniel looked at his mother. She had fallen asleep in the passenger seat, her head resting against the window. For the first time in years, she looked peaceful. Grace sat in the small jail cell and stared at the gray walls. 3 days. She had been here for 3 days, and already she felt like she was losing her mind. The bed was hard. The food was terrible. The other women in the cell looked at her like she was dirt. This wasn't supposed to happen. She and Emmanuel had planned everything so carefully. They were supposed to be on a beach in South Africa by now, drinking expensive wine and laughing about how easy it had been to fool Daniel. But instead she was here, and Emmanuel was in the men's section, probably crying like the coward he really was. The guard's voice broke through her thoughts. "Grace Mensah, you have a visitor." She stood up quickly, hope flooding through her chest. Maybe it was her lawyer. Maybe there was a way out of this mess. But when they led her to the visiting room, the person sitting on the other side of the glass wasn't her lawyer. It was Daniel's mother. Grace stopped walking. Her whole body went cold. "I don't want to see her," she told the guard. "Too bad. She requested this visit legally. You have to sit," the guard said, pushing her forward. Grace sat down slowly and picked up the phone. On the other side of the glass, Rose picked up hers. They stared at each other for a long moment. "Why are you here?" Grace finally asked. "To look at you," Rose said simply. "To see the face of the woman who tried to destroy my son. I didn't destroy him. He's fine. He still has his money, his house, his precious business. But you tried. You wanted to take everything from him, and you used me to do it." Grace laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. "Oh, please, don't act like you're some innocent victim. You're the one who raised a son who cared more about money than his own mother." Rose's face didn't change. She just kept looking at Grace with those steady, knowing eyes. "You're right," she said quietly. Grace blinked. That wasn't the response she expected. "What?" "You're right. I did raise him. And somewhere along the way I failed to teach him what really matters. I taught him to work hard, to be ambitious, to never give up. But I forgot to teach him to look back, to remember where he came from." "So you admit it. You admit he abandoned you." "No," Rose said firmly. "He forgot me. There's a difference. Abandoning is a choice. Forgetting is a mistake. And mistakes can be fixed." Grace leaned back in her chair. "You came all the way here just to tell me that. Just to defend your precious son." No, I came to tell you something else. What? Rose leaned closer to the glass. I forgive you. The words hit Grace like a slap. What? I forgive you for what you did to me, for taking my house, for stealing my money, for putting me on the streets. I forgive you. I don't want your forgiveness, Grace said, her voice rising. I don't need it. I'm not giving it for you, Rose said calmly. I'm giving it for me, because holding anger in my heart only hurts me, not you. Grace stood up suddenly, the chair scraping against the floor. You think you're so much better than me, don't you? You think because you suffered and waited and stayed loyal that makes you some kind of saint. No, I'm not a saint. I'm just a mother who loves her son. Love. Grace said the word like it tasted bad. Love is for fools. Love doesn't buy houses or cars or pretty dresses. Love doesn't make you powerful. You're right again, Rose said. Love doesn't give you those things, but it gives you something more important. It gives you peace, something you'll never have even if you get out of here. Grace sat back down, her hands shaking with anger. Why did you really come here? To gloat? To see me locked up like an animal? No, I came because I wanted to understand. Understand what? Why you hate so much? Why you felt the need to hurt an old woman who never did anything to you? Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she started laughing, really laughing, the kind that made the guard look over nervously. You want to know why? She asked when she finally stopped. Fine, I'll tell you. Because people like you disgust me. People who are happy with nothing. People who smile even when they're suffering. People who say things like love is enough and family is everything. It's all lies, all of it. Is that what your family taught you? Rose asked softly. Grace's smile disappeared. Don't talk about my family. Why not? Did they hurt you? Did they make you believe that love doesn't exist? I said don't talk about them. Grace slammed her hand against the glass. The guard started walking over, but Rose raised her hand to stop him. It's okay, she told the guard. Then she turned back to Grace. I'm sorry for whatever happened to you. I'm sorry someone hurt you so badly that you can't believe in good things anymore. Stop it, Grace whispered. Stop trying to make me feel bad. I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth. Hurt people, and you've been hurt, maybe not by Daniel, maybe not even recently, but somewhere someone taught you that the only way to survive is to take from others. Tears started falling down Grace's face, but her expression was still hard, still angry. You don't know anything about me. You're right, I don't. But I know this. You're going to spend a long time in here, maybe 10 years, maybe more, and during that time you're going to have a choice. You can hold on to your anger and your hate and your bitterness, or you can let it go. And why would I do that? Because holding on to those things is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only destroys you. Grace wiped her eyes roughly. Is that it? Is that all you came to say? No, there's one more thing. What? Rose looked at her for a long moment. I pray that one day you find peace, real peace, the kind that comes from forgiving yourself for the things you've done. I'll never forgive myself, and I'll never forgive Daniel either. That's your choice. But just know that while you're sitting in here drowning in hate, my son and I are home, together, healing, moving forward. Your hate can't touch us anymore. Grace felt something break inside her chest. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to make this old woman hurt the way she was hurting. But all she could do was sit there and cry. Rose stood up slowly. Goodbye, Grace. I hope you find what you're looking for. She hung up the phone and walked away, leaving Grace alone in the visiting room. The guard came to take Grace back to her cell. As she walked through the long hallway, she passed a window. Outside, she could see the city, people going about their lives, free, happy, moving forward. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Grace realized something terrible. She had lost. Not just the money or the freedom or the plan. She had lost everything that mattered. And the worst part, Daniel and his mother had won without even trying to fight her. They had won by simply loving each other. Back in the car, Daniel was waiting for his mother. How did it go? He asked as she got in. Exactly as I expected, she said. Did she apologize? No, and I didn't expect her to. Some people are too broken to see their own mistakes. Daniel started driving. They rode in silence for a while. Mama, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you really go see her? You could have just let her rot in that cell. Rose looked out the window at the passing streets. Because I needed to see her face. I needed to understand how someone could be so cruel, and now I do. And now I can truly let it go. I can stop wondering why. I can stop being angry. I can just be free. Daniel reached over and took her hand. You're the strongest person I know, Mama. No, my son. I'm just a woman who learned a long time ago that forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about setting yourself free from the weight of hate. They drove home together, leaving the jail and everything it represented behind them. Meanwhile, in her cell, Grace lay on her hard bed and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in her life, she had no plan, no scheme, no way out. All she had was time. Time to think about what she had done. Time to remember the look in Rose's eyes when she said, I forgive you. Time to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she had destroyed the wrong person's life. Her own. 3 months had passed since the press conference. Daniel's life had changed in ways he never expected. His business was stronger than ever. The program he started for elderly homeless people was getting national attention, and his mother, she was thriving. Rose had become something of a celebrity. She spent her days volunteering at shelters, telling her story, giving hope to others who had lost everything. She had even been invited to speak at churches and community centers. But there was one thing that bothered her. Daniel, you need to get out more, she said one Saturday morning while they ate breakfast together. I get out plenty, Mama. I go to work. I attend meetings. That's not what I mean. She interrupted, giving him that look. The look that said she was about to meddle in his life. You need to meet people, young people, women. Daniel nearly choked on his tea. Mama, please, not this again. Yes, this again. You're 34 years old. You can't let one bad woman ruin your whole life. I'm not ready. You'll never be ready if you keep hiding in this big house. Besides, James is worried about you too. As if on cue, James walked into the dining room. Worried about what? Nothing, Daniel said quickly. About Daniel becoming an old bachelor, Rose said at the same time. James grinned. Oh, that? Yes, sir. I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Not you too, James. Sir, with all due respect, you've been eating dinner alone every night, watching the news, and going to bed at 9 o'clock like an old man. You're young. You should be out there living. Daniel sighed. I appreciate your concern, both of you. But I'm fine. I'm just focused on work right now. Rose stood up and put her hands on her hips. Work, work, work. That's what got you in trouble the first time. You focused so much on work that you forgot about everything else. That's different. No, it's not. You're doing it again, hiding behind your business because you're afraid to open your heart. Daniel knew when he was beaten, his mother was stubborn, and when she decided something, there was no changing her mind. Fine. What do you want me to do? Rose's face lit up. There's a woman I met at the shelter. Her name is Adiz. She's a doctor, very smart, very kind, and she's single. Mama, no. I'm not letting you set me up on a blind date. It's not a blind date. It's just meeting someone new, as friends. What's wrong with that? Everything. This is embarrassing. James cleared his throat. Actually, sir, I might have someone too. Daniel looked at him in disbelief. You're joking. No, sir, my sister's friend. She owns a bookstore in Victoria Island. Very intelligent. Loves to read. She's been asking about you ever since she saw the press conference. Oh God, Daniel muttered, putting his head in his hands. See, Rose said triumphantly. Even James thinks you need to meet someone. So we're doing this. Tomorrow, both of them. Both. Mama, that's not how this works. Tomorrow afternoon, we're having a small garden party here. Just a few people, casual, no pressure. Who else is coming to this small garden party? Oh, just some ladies from the shelter, Sister Mary, a few of James's friends, maybe 20 people total. 20? Mama, that's not small. But Rose was already walking away, planning in her head. James followed her, trying hard not to laugh. Daniel sat alone at the breakfast table, wondering how his life had come to this. The next day, Daniel stood in his garden wearing casual clothes, jeans, and a polo shirt, feeling absolutely ridiculous. The garden was transformed. String lights hung between the trees, tables with food everywhere, music playing softly in the background, and people, so many people, laughing and talking. His mother moved through the crowd like a queen, introducing everyone, making sure they had food and drinks. She was in her element. Daniel, she called out, waving him over. Come meet Adiz. He walked over slowly, his heart beating too fast. The woman standing next to his mother was beautiful, tall, with natural hair pulled back in a bun, wearing a simple yellow dress. She had kind eyes and an easy smile. Adiz, this is my son Daniel. Daniel, this is Dr. Adiz Okonkwo. It's nice to meet you, Adiz said, extending her hand. You too, Daniel said, shaking it. Her grip was firm, confident. Your mother talks about you all the time, she said. I feel like I already know you. That's terrifying, actually. Knowing my mother, she probably told you all my embarrassing childhood stories. Adiz laughed, a real laugh, not the fake polite kind. She did mention something about you trying to cook rice when you were 7 and almost burning down the kitchen. Mama. Daniel looked at Rose, who just smiled innocently. I'll leave you two to talk, Rose said, walking away before Daniel could protest. There was an awkward silence. So, Daniel said finally, you're a doctor. Yes, pediatrician. I work at the general hospital. That must be rewarding. It is, though sometimes heartbreaking, a lot of sick children from poor families. They talked for a while about her work, and Daniel found himself actually enjoying the conversation. She was intelligent, passionate about helping people, and she had a good sense of humor. Then James appeared with another woman. Sir, this is Chioma, the bookstore owner I mentioned. Chioma was different from Adiz, shorter, cavia, with braids down to her waist and glasses that made her look like a librarian. In a good way, she wore jeans and a t-shirt that said I'd rather be reading. Hi, she said shyly. I hope this isn't weird. James kind of forced me to come. He forced me to be here too, Daniel admitted. Well, him and my mother. Chioma laughed. I saw your press conference. What you did for your mother, that was brave. Thank you. Now Daniel was standing between two women, both interesting, both attractive, and he had no idea what to do. Adiz, reading the situation, perfectly smiled. I should go get some food. Nice meeting you, Daniel. And you too, Chioma. She walked away gracefully, leaving Daniel with Chioma. She seems nice, Chioma said. She does. So a bookstore, what kind? All kinds, but I specialize in African literature, Nigerian authors, Ghanaian, Kenyan. I want people to read stories that look like them. That's beautiful. They talked about books, and Daniel admitted he hadn't read anything except business reports in years. That's sad, Chioma said. Reading is like traveling without leaving home. Maybe you could recommend something. I could. Or you could come by the store sometime, and I'll show you. Daniel smiled. I'd like that. The party continued. Daniel talked to both women throughout the afternoon, and to his surprise, he enjoyed himself. Adiz was easy to talk to, smart and funny. Chioma was quieter but thoughtful, with insights that made him think. Later, when most of the guests had left, Daniel found his mother sitting under a tree. You set me up, he said, sitting beside her. I didn't. And it wasn't terrible. Rose smiled. Which one did you like better? Mama, it's not a competition. Everything is a competition, so which one? Daniel thought about it. I don't know. They're both great. Adiz is confident and accomplished. Chioma is thoughtful and creative. They're different. So see them both again. Get to know them. No pressure, just friendship first. When did you become a relationship expert? I've been married, raised a child, and survived 2 years on the streets. I know people, and I know you need someone who sees you, really sees you. Not your money or your success, just you. Daniel leaned his head on her shoulder. How do I know when I find that person? You'll know, because being with them will feel like coming home. As the sun set over the garden, Daniel thought about the two women he'd met today, about his mother's wisdom, about the possibility of opening his heart again. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop hiding. Maybe it was time to live again. Daniel's phone buzzed for the third time that morning. First message, good morning. Hope you have a wonderful day. Adiz. Second message, I found a book I think you'd love. Come by the store when you're free. Chioma. Third message, don't forget to eat breakfast. And by eat, I mean real food, not just coffee. Mama. He laughed and shook his head. His life had become wonderfully complicated. For the past 2 weeks, he had been seeing both women. Nothing serious, just coffee dates, lunch meetings, and long conversations. But James and his mother were having way too much fun with the situation. Sir, you have flowers to send, James said, walking into his office with a knowing smile. Flowers? I didn't order any flowers. No, but you should. It's been 4 days since you last sent some. The ladies might think you've lost interest. James, I'm not sending flowers to both of them. That's weird. Why? You're not exclusive with either one. You're just getting to know them. Nothing wrong with being a gentleman to both. Daniel rubbed his temples. This is exhausting. How do people date multiple people at once? With style, sir. With style. That evening, Daniel had dinner plans with Adiz. She had invited him to a charity event at the hospital, a fundraiser for the children's ward. He picked her up at 7, and she looked stunning in a red dress that made heads turn when they walked in. "You clean up nice," she said, adjusting his bow tie. "You're not so bad yourself, doctor." The event was elegant. Doctors, donors, and wealthy business people mingling, all trying to outdo each other with their generosity. Daniel donated a substantial amount, and Adiz beamed with pride. "You're going to spoil me," she said as they danced. "I'll start expecting grand gestures all the time." "Would that be so bad?" "Depends. Are you the kind of man who does grand gestures? Or are you the kind who shows love in quiet ways?" It was a test. Daniel knew it. She was trying to figure out if he was like Grace, all flash and no substance. "I think love should be both," he said carefully. "Grand when it matters, quiet when it counts." She smiled. "Good answer." But as they danced, Daniel's phone vibrated. A text from Chioma. "Emergency at the store. Pipe burst. Books everywhere. Send help or wine. Preferably both." Daniel stopped dancing. "Everything okay?" Adiz asked. There's a situation. A friend needs help." Adiz's smile faded slightly. "What kind of friend?" "The bookstore owner. There's a flood. The one your mother set you up with." Daniel winced. "Yes. But it's not. She's just a friend who needs help." "At 9 o'clock at night?" "It's an emergency." Adiz stepped back. "Daniel, I like you. But I need to know something. Are you seriously interested in me? Or am I just one of your options?" The question hung in the air like a weight. "I'm interested," Daniel said honestly. "But I'm also trying to be careful. I rushed into marriage once, and it destroyed my life. This time, I want to be sure." Adiz studied his face for a long moment. "Okay. I respect that. Go help your friend. But Daniel, don't take too long figuring things out. I'm not the kind of woman who waits around forever." He kissed her cheek and left. 20 minutes later, he arrived at Chioma's bookstore to find chaos. Water everywhere. Books soaked. Chioma in rubber boots trying to save what she could, tears streaming down her face. "I've lost so many," she said when she saw him. "First editions. Rare collections. Everything." Daniel rolled up his sleeves. "Show me what to do." They worked for hours, moving books to higher shelves, mopping water, calling plumbers. By midnight, they had saved most of the stock, but both of them were exhausted and soaked. Chioma sat on the floor surrounded by damp books and started laughing. "What's funny?" Daniel asked. "This. You. You left a fancy party to help me save books. You're either very kind or very stupid. Maybe both." She looked at him with those thoughtful eyes. "You were with Adiz tonight, weren't you?" "Yes." "Does she know you're here?" "Yes." "And she was okay with it?" "Not really. But I came anyway." Chioma was quiet for a moment. "Why?" "Because you needed help. And because," he paused, trying to find the right words, "because when I got your text, I didn't think. I just knew I needed to be here." Something shifted in the air between them. "Daniel, I need to tell you something," Chioma said softly. "What?" "I'm not good at competing. I'm not the flashy type. I don't wear red dresses or go to fancy parties. I'm the girl who reads books on Saturday nights and forgets to comb her hair when I'm deep in a good story." "I know. So if you're looking for someone exciting, someone glamorous, Adiz is probably better for you." Daniel sat down beside her on the wet floor. "Can I tell you something?" "Okay." Grace was exciting. Grace was glamorous. Grace knew all the right things to say and wore all the right clothes and fit perfectly into my business world. And she was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Because I was so dazzled by the surface that I never looked deeper. I never asked what kind of person she really was." Chioma turned to look at him. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I'm tired of flash. I'm tired of performance. I want something real." "Is this real?" she asked, gesturing between them. Before Daniel could answer, his phone rang. It was his mother. "Where are you?" Rose demanded. "It's past midnight." "At Chioma's bookstore." There was a flood. There was a pause, then, "Is she okay?" "Yes, Mama. We're fine." "Good. Bring her home. She can't stay in that wet store. She'll get sick." "Mama, I don't think." "Bring her home. I'll make hot chocolate." She hung up. Daniel looked at Chioma. "My mother has summoned you." "I heard. She's terrifying." "You have no idea." They locked up the store and drove to Daniel's house. Rose was waiting in the kitchen, already making hot chocolate, still in her nightgown. "You poor thing," she said, pulling Chioma into a hug. "Come, sit. Tell me what happened." While Chioma explained about the flood, Daniel watched them, his mother, and this quiet bookstore owner talking like old friends. It felt right. James appeared in pajamas. Sir, should I prepare the guest room? I can go home, Chioma said quickly. I don't want to impose. Nonsense, Rose said. It's too late. You'll stay here tonight. Daniel had learned not to argue with his mother. Later, after Chioma had gone to the guest room and Rose had gone to bed, Daniel sat in his study thinking. His phone buzzed, a message from Adiz. I hope your friend is okay. But Daniel, I need you to make a choice. I deserve someone who chooses me first. Think about it. She was right. This couldn't go on forever. He looked at his phone, then at the hallway where Chioma was sleeping. James knocked on the door. Sir? Still awake. Can't sleep. Woman troubles? Is it that obvious? James smiled. Sir, can I give you some advice? Please. Stop thinking so much. Your problem is you're trying to make the logical choice. The smart choice. The safe choice. But love isn't logical. Then what is it? It's the person you call when something good happens. The person whose opinion matters most. The person who makes ordinary moments feel special. Daniel thought about the evening, about dancing with Adiz at a glamorous party, about sitting on a wet floor with Chioma saving books. Both moments were special, but only one felt like home. I think I know what I need to do, Daniel said. Good. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be interesting. James was right about that. Tomorrow Daniel would have to make a choice. And this time he would choose with his heart, not his head. Daniel woke up to the smell of pancakes. He came downstairs to find his mother and Chioma in the kitchen cooking together and laughing like they'd known each other for years. Chioma was wearing one of his mother's old dresses, her braids pulled back, flour on her cheek. Good morning, sleepyhead, Rose said cheerfully. We made breakfast. I can see that. Daniel sat at the table watching them work. There was something easy about the way they moved around each other, natural, like they fit. Your mother was just telling me stories about you as a child, Chioma said, flipping a pancake. Apparently you once tried to marry the neighbor's goat because she had pretty eyes. I was 5, Daniel protested. And in my defense, that goat did have very nice eyes. They all laughed, and for a moment Daniel forgot about his complicated situation. This felt like family, like Sunday mornings should feel. Then his phone rang. Adiz. The laughter stopped. Chioma's smile faded slightly. I should take this, Daniel said, walking to the living room. Good morning, he answered. Morning. Did you think about what I said? Adiz's voice was calm but firm. I did. And? Can we meet? I'd like to talk in person. There was a pause. Okay, my place, 1 hour. She hung up. When Daniel returned to the kitchen, the atmosphere had changed. Chioma was washing dishes, her back to him. Rose was watching both of them with knowing eyes. I need to go out, Daniel said. To see her, Chioma said quietly. It wasn't a question. Yes. She turned around, drying her hands on a towel. It's okay, Daniel. You need to figure out what you want. Chioma. Really? It's fine. I should go anyway. I need to check on the store, see what else needs fixing. I'll drive you, Daniel offered. No need. I'll call an Uber. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Thank you for last night, for helping me. Of course. She went upstairs to change back into her clothes from last night. When she came back down, she hugged Rose goodbye and waved at Daniel. Good luck, she said, with everything. Then she was gone. Rose looked at her son. You're about to make the biggest mistake of your life. Mama, please, not now. After you choose the wrong woman again, after you realize too late what you let slip away. How do you know Chioma is the right choice? You barely know her. I know enough. I know she came here last night looking like a drowned rat and didn't care. I know she helped me cook this morning without being asked. I know the way she looks at you, like you're a person, not a prize. And Adiz, what about her? Rose sighed. Adiz is wonderful, successful, beautiful, confident. She would look perfect on your arm at business dinners. But Daniel, do you want someone who looks perfect or someone who feels perfect? I don't know, Mama. That's why I need to talk to her. An hour later, Daniel stood outside Adiz's apartment building. It was modern, expensive, in the best part of town, just like her. She opened the door wearing yoga pants and a tank top, her hair in a messy bun. Even casual, she looked stunning. Come in, she said. Her apartment was immaculate, everything coordinated, everything in its place. Medical journals on the coffee table, framed degrees on the walls, a life well organized. Coffee, she offered. No, thank you. They sat on her couch, the air thick with unspoken words. So, she said finally, have you made your decision? Daniel took a deep breath. Adiz, you're incredible. You're smart, accomplished, beautiful. But, she interrupted, but I don't think I can be what you need. She smiled sadly. You mean you don't love me? I care about you. I respect you. But no, I don't love you. Not the way you deserve to be loved. Adiz nodded slowly. I knew. I think I've known for a while. Every time you talked, you were present, but not fully there, like part of you was somewhere else. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'd rather know now than waste time on something that's not real. She paused. It's the bookstore girl, isn't it? Daniel didn't answer, but his face said everything. I thought so, Adiz said. When you left the fundraiser to help her, I knew. A man doesn't leave a beautiful woman in a red dress unless his heart is already somewhere else. You're not angry. Disappointed maybe, but not angry. You were honest with me from the start. You said you were taking things slow, being careful. I just hoped I'd be the one you'd choose. They sat in silence for a moment. Can I give you some advice? Adiz asked. Please. Don't let fear stop you from loving her. I know what Grace did to you. I know it left scars. But Chioma isn't Grace. And if you keep comparing every woman to your ex-wife, you'll never let anyone in. How did you get so wise? She laughed. Medical school and a really bad relationship in my 20s makes you learn things fast. She stood up. Now go. Go find her and tell her how you feel before some other man realizes what a gem she is. Daniel stood and hugged her. Thank you for understanding, for being kind. Be happy, Daniel. That's all the thanks I need. He left her apartment and immediately called Chioma. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. He called the bookstore. A recorded message said it was closed for repairs. Panic started creeping in. What if she'd given up? What if she thought he'd chosen Adiz? He called James. Sir, where would Chioma go? If she was upset, where would she go? How should I know, sir? James, please. You know everyone. You hear everything. Where would she be? There was a pause. Sir, my sister mentioned that Chioma sometimes goes to the beach when she needs to think. Bar Beach. There's a quiet spot near the East End. Daniel was already running to his car. Traffic was terrible, of course. Lagos traffic always was. It took him 40 minutes to get to the beach, and by the time he arrived, he was sweating and anxious. He found her sitting on the sand watching the waves. A book lay closed beside her. Not reading, he asked, sitting down next to her. She jumped slightly. Daniel, what are you doing here? Looking for you. You didn't answer your phone. I turned it off. Needed some quiet. They sat in silence watching the ocean. I talked to Adiz, Daniel said finally. And I ended things, told her I couldn't give her what she deserves. Chioma turned to look at him. Why? Because my heart wasn't fully in it. Because every time I was with her, I kept thinking about someone else. Who? Daniel picked up a handful of sand and let it fall through his fingers. A woman who saves books in the middle of the night, who reads stories on Saturday nights, who makes my mother laugh, who makes ordinary moments feel extraordinary. Chioma's eyes filled with tears. Daniel, I'm scared, he admitted. I'm terrified, actually. The last time I opened my heart to someone, she destroyed my life. She stole from me, put my mother on the streets, and left me unable to trust anyone. I'm not her. I know, my brain knows, but my heart is still learning to trust again. Chioma took his hand. I'm scared too. You're rich, successful, sophisticated. I'm just a girl who sells books. What if I'm not enough for your world? My world is overrated. I've had fancy dinners and glamorous parties and business success. None of it means anything without someone real to share it with. So what do? Daniel turned to face her fully. We take it slow. We don't rush. We let this grow naturally. And we promise to be honest with each other even when it's hard. I can do that. And Chioma, I need you to know something. I'm going to mess up sometimes. I'm going to work too much or forget important dates or say the wrong thing. But I promise I'll never lie to you. I'll never betray you. And I'll never ever forget what matters most. She smiled through her tears. That's all I need. Someone who tries. Someone who's real. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, but she didn't. She met him halfway. The kiss was gentle, sweet, and felt like coming home. When they pulled apart, Chioma laughed. What? Daniel asked. Your mother is going to be impossible when she finds out. Oh God, you're right. She's going to plan our wedding before we even have a second date. Is that a problem? Daniel grinned. Not even a little bit. They sat on the beach until sunset talking about everything and nothing, about books and dreams and fears and hopes. And for the first time since Grace, Daniel felt something he thought he'd lost forever. He felt ready to love again. 1 year later, Daniel stood in the garden where it all began, watching workers set up chairs and decorations. The same garden where his mother had thrown that party. The same garden where he'd met both 80years and Chioma, but today was different. Today was his wedding day. Nervous, James asked, adjusting Daniel's bow tie for the third time. Terrified, Daniel admitted. What if I mess this up? What if? Sir, stop. You've been with Chioma for a year. You know her. She knows you. This is right. Daniel took a deep breath. James was right. This past year had been the best of his life. Slow, steady, real. No games, no pretending. Just two people learning to love each other honestly. Is my mother ready? Daniel asked. James smiled. She's been ready since 6 this morning. I've never seen her so happy. In the house, Rose was indeed beaming. She wore a beautiful purple dress, her favorite color, and was fussing over Chioma like she was her own daughter. You look perfect, Rose said, adjusting Chioma's veil. My son is a lucky man. Chioma looked at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress was simple, elegant, nothing extravagant, just like her. Her braids were styled in an intricate updo woven with small white flowers. I'm the lucky one, Chioma said softly. I'm marrying a good man and gaining a wonderful mother. Rose's eyes filled with tears. You saved him, you know. After Grace, I thought he would never trust anyone again. But you showed him that love doesn't have to hurt. He saved me too. Before Daniel, I had convinced myself I was better off alone, that books were safer than people. And now, Chioma smiled. Now I know that the best stories are the ones we live, not just the ones we read. There was a knock on the door. Sister Mary from the shelter poked her head in. It's time, she said. Everyone is waiting. The garden was transformed. White flowers everywhere, string lights twinkling even in the afternoon sun, chairs filled with people, not hundreds, just the ones who mattered, friends from the shelter, James's family, Chioma's parents and siblings, some of Daniel's business partners, and in the front row, a special guest. Adiz sat smiling, genuinely happy. She had moved on too, now dating a fellow doctor. She had told Daniel that watching him find real love had taught her what to look for in her own relationships. The music started, a gentle acoustic guitar playing a Nigerian love song. First came Rose walking down the aisle with her head held high. The woman who had survived the streets, who had forgiven the unforgivable, who had taught her son what really mattered. She sat in the front row, tears already streaming down her face. Then Chioma appeared. Daniel's breath caught. She was beautiful, yes, but more than that, she was radiant, happy, real. She walked down the aisle alone, having insisted she didn't need anyone to give her away. I'm not property, she had told Daniel when planning the wedding. I'm choosing you on my own. When she reached the altar, Daniel took her hands and whispered, You're stunning. You're not so bad yourself. She whispered back, making him smile. The pastor, a kind, elderly man who had known Rose for years, began the ceremony. We are gathered here today to witness the union of Daniel and Chioma, but this is more than just a wedding. This is a testimony that broken people can heal, that betrayed hearts can love again, that with honesty, patience, and faith, second chances are possible. He looked at Daniel. Do you, Daniel Mensah, take Chioma to be your wife, to love her honestly, support her dreams, and choose her every day in wealth and in struggle, in joy and in sorrow? I do, Daniel said firmly. I absolutely do. And do you, Chioma, take Daniel to be your husband, to love him, patiently believe in him, and build a life together based on trust and truth? I do, Chioma said, her voice steady despite her tears. They exchanged rings, simple gold bands with their initials engraved inside. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive, just meaningful. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Daniel, you may kiss your bride. Daniel pulled Chioma close and kissed her, and the garden erupted in applause and cheers. Rose was sobbing openly now, and even James was wiping his eyes. At the reception, Daniel stood to give a toast. A year ago, he began, I was a broken man. I had lost my trust in people, my faith in love, and worst of all, I had almost lost my mother. He looked at Rose, who blew him a kiss. But sometimes our worst moments lead us to our best ones. If Grace hadn't betrayed me, I would never have found my mother on that street. I would never have realized what I had lost, and I would never have learned what real love looks like. He turned to Chioma. You taught me that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about showing up. It's about wet floors and saved books. It's about Sunday morning pancakes and quiet evenings reading together. It's about choosing each other every single day. Chioma was crying now. So thank you, Daniel continued. Thank you for being patient with my broken heart. Thank you for loving my mother as your own. Thank you for being real when I needed real. Thank you for being you. He raised his glass. To my wife, to my mother, to second chances, and to the truth that the best love stories are the ones we never saw coming. Everyone raised their glasses and cheered. Later, as the sun set and the party continued, Daniel found his mother sitting under the same tree where she had given him advice a year ago. Happy? She asked as he sat beside her. More than I ever thought possible. Good, because that girl is special. Don't mess it up. I won't, Mama, I promise. Rose took his hand. You know, when I was on those streets, I used to dream about this, about you finding real happiness, about us being together again, about life making sense again. And now I know that sometimes we have to lose everything to find what really matters. My house, my money, my comfort. Losing all of that gave me something better. It gave me my son back, the real one, not the one too busy to call. Daniel squeezed her hand. I'll never be too busy again. You better not be, especially when the grandchildren come. Mama, we just got married. Rose laughed. I'm just saying, I'm not getting any younger, and Chioma would make beautiful babies. Chioma walked over, having overheard. Are you already pressuring us for grandchildren, Mama Rose? Maybe a little bit, Rose admitted. They all laughed. As the evening went on, Daniel looked around at the people celebrating with them. Sister Mary dancing with the women from the shelter, James showing Chioma's little nephew magic tricks, Adiz chatting with Chioma's parents, everyone happy, everyone together. This was what mattered, not the big house or the successful business or the impressive bank account. This, people, connection, love. Chioma came and sat on his lap, something she never would have done a year ago. She was still quiet and reserved, but with him, she had learned to be free. What are you thinking about? She asked. About how Grace thought she was destroying my life when she put my mother on that street. And she actually saved it, because finding Mama led me to you, led me back to what's real. Funny how life works sometimes. Do you ever think about her, about what happened? Sometimes, but not with anger anymore. More like gratitude in a strange way. She taught me what I didn't want. You showed me what I needed. Chioma kissed his forehead. Well, Mr. Mensah, what do you want now? Daniel looked at his mother laughing with the shelter women, at James trying to catch the bouquet, even though he was a man, at all the people who had come to celebrate love winning over betrayal. This, he said simply, just this, forever. Forever is a long time. Not long enough. As the night deepened and the stars came out, Daniel and Chioma danced under the same string lights where he had danced with Adiz a year ago. But this time, everything was different. This time he was dancing with his future, not his fantasy. Rose watched them from her chair, her heart full. She thought about the past 2 years, the suffering, the streets, the cold nights, the hunger. And she thought about now, the warmth, the love, the family reunited. It had all been worth it. Every painful moment had led to this beautiful one. Thank you, she whispered to the sky, to God, to the universe. Thank you for bringing my son back to me. Thank you for giving him a woman who deserves him. Thank you for second chances. And somewhere in a prison cell far away, Grace sat alone. She had been released last month after serving her sentence, but she had nowhere to go. Emmanuel had abandoned her the moment they got arrested, blaming everything on her to reduce his own sentence. She had lost everything. Her beauty was fading. Her schemes had failed. Her bitterness had consumed her. But the worst part, she had seen the wedding announcement in the newspaper, had seen Daniel smiling with a simple girl who wore no makeup and sold books, had seen the pure joy on his face. And she realized too late what she had thrown away. Not the money, not the status, but the chance to be loved by a good man. That was her real punishment. Not prison bars, but the knowledge of what could have been if only she had chosen love over greed. Back at the wedding, Daniel lifted Chioma in his arms as the song ended, spinning her around as she laughed. I love you, he said. I love you too, she replied. Forever. And always. Rose smiled, watching them. Her son had finally found his way home. Not to a house or a city or a business, but to love, real, honest, beautiful love, and that she thought was the greatest success of all.